call the meeting to order. Sitting is Dave Tinkham, Paul Johnson, and myself. I'll act as chair for as well as I can. If I misbehave, please somebody slap me and throw me out.
Let me do that.
Yeah, okay. That's your chore for the day. The minutes, let me just check my email here. I believe we all got them. About 3 or 4 days after the last meeting, I think we had gotten them. Paul, you had sent some out too. I remember seeing
I
that.
sent out the ones that had been approved at the last meeting.
Okay, and they were amended.
They've been posted, yeah.
And I know I have that in my email, and I don't have copies in front of us. So.
Can't approve them anyways, you don't have a quorum to approve them.
Unfortunately, I have to abstain.
That's right.
Right.
Actually,
you can
you
have
can
a
approve them with a majority of the members present.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's what you needed to do?
Yeah, as long as you have a quorum, yeah, you just need a majority.
Oh, all right.
You want,
You trying to mess me up?
No,
again?
I wasn't aware of that.
I don't think there's anything I have attached to this that is.
Thank you.
That's the minutes and the agendas of the last two meetings. One was canceled and the last one.
So, Dave, do you remember if you had a chance to review the minutes from May 23rd?
I did look at them, but like you said, we really can't approve them without a majority.
Okay.
We have a majority of the
Yeah,
quorum.
see, there's a quorum, so we have 3 members,
Okay,
and we also have 2 members that were present at that meeting.
okay.
So
so
you can
be-
approve them.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented with any amendments.
I'll second the motion. Any amendments offered at all?
I have no.
All right. I call a motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. And an abstention.
Abstain.
All right. 201. Okay, so I got into there to the office Friday. I figured I didn't know Steve was sick at that time. There was no new information in there other than the permit by notification, the 4 copies that were left over from the last one we reviewed. So I'm not aware of any new applications or approvals that were in the sleeve today. Did anybody else have a
Okay,
chance
so
to
the
go
ones
in?
from the last meeting didn't move forward?
It did, but the 4 copies that was supposed to be left in the town hall are left in that mailbox. So, our action did go to Valerie the next day, and that applicant did come in and grab what he had to grab to forward to the state.
Okay. So, distribution, just so I'm clear. When we bring those applications in, she signs them.
Yeah.
The
Well,
town-
after board discussion. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we bring them in after the meeting, and they've been approved by us and signed by the chairman. Then they go to Valerie for signature.
Right.
And I thought that's where they stayed, and she saw that they got distributed.
Yeah. So the applicant, can't remember his name now, but he's the guy over there, and
Not important.
right. He came and got his copy that had to be signed and forwarded to the state.
Right.
And the other 4 copies that generally stay in the building, one stays at the town clerk's office.
Yeah.
And there are 3 copies in the conservation sleeve. So one should stay in our files.
Right.
One should stay in the planning board's files.
Right.
And one should stay in the selectman's office and one in the town clerk's office.
Right.
So that way, if any of those offices are closed, somebody needs to get that information, there's a chance that one of the other 3 or 4 locations would be, well, I guess 3.
Okay, I guess my question is, how does it get distributed? If the 3 are still in the mail slot?
Yeah. We're gonna force Priscilla to go in and lug them all the way downstairs. And
Okay. I didn't know whether the town clerk took care of that once.
there is a filing cabinet inside the selectman's office that should,
Just put them right in that, right?
yeah. Our filing cabinet downstairs would receive one of them, and then a slot in the planning board.
Right, so you can just put it in there for distribution.
Right. That's what
Okay.
Valerie did.
All right, I'm clear, thank you.
Sorry about that. Was it a long way around to the square hole?
Well, I just wanted to be sure I understood the process, that's all.
All right, so, any new board business?
I have none.
I can say that well, it'll be coming right up here on the agenda. Are we ready to update unfinished board business on the agenda?
I think so.
All right, Lavender Conservation Monitor walk and report.
I think we've decided that we're going to do that, but we're gonna wait till black fly and tick season is over. Because if we get it done late summer, like we have before,
Yeah.
it should be fine.
Okay.
So,
Maybe we can put it on the agenda for the second meeting in July, maybe, to talk about it again?
well, why don't I just put a note, do it in September,
Okay,
all right?
yeah,
And if we decide to change that, we can.
yeah. Hutchins easement, that was done on Saturday. I got a call from you, Dave, but when I found it, I was out of my range to call you back. But it was a reminder for me to get down there and do it. So I walked the perimeter of the rock wall. I went up to where the wall goes from behind the barn, which is the southeastern part of that easement. On the other side of the wall is the 2 acres that they have kept for development if they want to. Gut pile, the bone pile is still down there from the trapper, uphill a little bit. So the scavengers are eating pretty well. And no trash, no, other than the animals, no dead bodies. I almost said no dead bodies, but the animals are out there.
Okay. Good, done. Nice. All right, we'll cross that one off.
Conservation-related files need to be reviewed and make room on the filing cabinet. Anything been done since we got down there?
No, that's still a work in progress. We've got to
Yeah.
get back, but this is a bad time of year for everybody. You get
Yeah.
all kinds of company and holidays, so
Yeah.
we'll get to it.
I can imagine that's the same thing for number 4 on the agenda, being box on top of the filing cabinet, right?
Yeah, that can't be done until we're sure we got the rest of the drawers organized.
Number 5, the Uniontown Meadow property deed restrictions through the attorney. I'm actually getting through my piles, which means my files are getting straightened out. So
I'm getting closer too, because I know I have some stuff.
Gage Hill property, the post is still up, no chain, no wire that I can see, and there's no more gravel on top of that glass to date.
Yeah. I haven't gotten a flat tire yet, though.
No,
I
no,
don't
it's
think it's gonna
when
be a
they
problem.
crush that stuff, it's pretty soft. And I gotta remind myself, I got my wife's car tonight, but those little plaques,
You still have them?
yeah,
Okay.
they're in the truck.
All right, so there's probably a dozen or more in the conservation file. I asked for more because we've got, what do we say,
I think it's about 5 miles per
5 miles of perimeter to do. But the important part probably is the part that you had the concern where you saw the orange.
I went, I went out, as I'm going to report in a second, and flagged the whole trail. And I didn't see any change in any of those trees. I'm not sure why they're marked, but I don't think, they're not ones, trees that anybody would likely to come onto that property to cut anyway.
Right.
They're not impressive. I mean, they're not particularly valuable any more so than any of the other trees. So I'm not sure what they're trying to mark there.
Okay.
Did you read the requirements for the posting on that?
Yes.
It seems to me that 25 feet is a little excessive. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
if you're
I think
posting
so, yeah.
property, the law requires it every 50 feet at eye level. If you're putting up no trespassing signs.
Yeah, I have some guidelines from UNH extension on posting property, so I can check those. But it seemed like it was at least 50 feet anyway.
Yeah, I mean 50 is a standard for
Yeah.
posting property. But now if they're telling you 25, every 25 feet at eye level, and we put it at 50, does that mean we're subverting our responsibilities to adhere to their requirements?
Well, it depends on what the laws say for posting of easement signs as opposed to
Right. Or if
posting it for trespassing and no hunting and no whatever else. You know.
no fun allowed.
Well, we can get more when we need them.
I think there's 100 in that packet, though. Those thin.
Is there?
thin
I didn't
aluminum
count.
ones. I didn't either, but you know, if I was a card player, I'd say it's twice the thickness.
Yeah, I'm going to be going back out there to actually do a final mapping of the trail. I've flagged it, but flagging and mapping simultaneously wasn't easy, so I decided to go out and map it again. And I could put out some after I do that, so if I have a handful of them, I could at least get started on it. I've got the nails,
Oh, you do?
the aluminum ones, yeah.
2.5? 2.5?
I think they're at least 2.5, maybe a little longer. But you want to have a couple inches sticking out of the tree anyway.
Well, you want at least a half-inch
Yeah.
for growth, but
Yeah, growth, yeah.
you also need to get through that bark into
Yeah,
them.
yeah. I think they're long enough, I'm pretty sure. If not, I'll go buy some. I'm not picky.
Should we?
By the way, on the flagging, I have a picture of the trail as it has been finalized and flagging. I took a few changes in direction from the last time just to avoid some high, steep grades and things like that, to go around a ridge line and things like that. But it's basically the same as it was before.
Okay, can we?
Is there a glare on it?
Probably. It's glossy.
So how long is the trail?
It's now 2.4 miles
2.4
Nice.
miles.
with
Okay.
the loop on the end. Basically, it's the same layout that we showed before, but I just cut it back a little quicker than I did before. And it comes out just a little bit north of the high hole tree now, and joins the other trail. So you get two looks at that. I also did find a couple of nice, what they call wolf trees up at the northeast end.
County Road.
They've got a lot of nest cavities in them. They're not in very good shape, but they're still alive. And I estimate that's probably at least a 4 to 4.5 foot DBH below the branch of the two trunks on that.
I'm just
It
gonna
is a
hold.
bigger tree than it looks like in the picture. It's gigantic.
Well,
I haven't gone and tried to get an estimate of the height yet, but I'm going to go measure the DBH. But there are two of them right near each other that are. They used to call them wolf trees because they hog the canopy and shade out the valuable timber that could come in if they weren't sitting there shading out the canopy like a top predator.
Looks like it's home for a lot of critters.
They're,
So
yeah.
they're not a shape that makes them commercially valuable. They used to cut them down just so they could grow commercial timber. So having some that were obviously that old, it's kind of nice out there.
That's a pine.
That's a pine.
Yeah. Couple of woody woodpecker holes in there.
just a few.
And also in the same vicinity of it, there was some bear scat,
Yeah.
fresh.
So if you were to look at
Obviously, time of
this,
year, it almost had to be fresh.
right
Up-
here.
Up in that corner right
Yeah, actually, that's the barn that got
Yeah.
moved away from Weeks' property down here on Stoneham Road.
Yeah.
And this is part of this 5-acre
Yeah.
parcel, but it's right at that bear cave.
Yep.
That big pile of rock right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, and that was probably visible when I was up in that corner. So they've got a fairly open area up there.
They cut it off
But,
6-7 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was at least 5 bear that were living
For
there.
what it's worth, I only picked up one tick on the trail. It was in a cloud of mosquitoes the whole way, but I picked up one tick, which I thought was kind of nice.
Must have seen, did you run into any of the turkeys?
I ran into a deer, but no turkeys.
They're plentiful out there, I know that, the turkey,
Yeah, I'm sure.
turkey herd,
Yeah.
herd of turkeys.
They're everywhere.
I've heard them a couple times. I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
They're kind of secretive.
Well, you talked about a trail work party.
Yeah, what I think what we'll start, and we could probably do that anytime now that it's flagged, is just clearing the debris off the trail and worry about the big logs later. I'm still concerned about liability. There may be some town issues with someone like me going out with a chainsaw and cutting that stuff up.
Especially if you
I
get hurt.
suspect there is, in
Yeah.
fact. We may have to have town personnel do the cutting. But there are only maybe 3 big logs that need to be cut.
Yeah, I imagine they're looking for something to do.
Of course, one of them has to be way down the trail.
I don't think they're trying to
I think most of it is just going to be brush and maybe some, loppers and hand saws, that sort of thing.
Well, as far as picking up and clearing the trails and getting the debris, would that be a good thing to see if we can contact the Boy Scouts?
We talked about that.
Yeah.
Did you have a chance to? You said you were.
No, but I did see a couple other people posting on the same thing, trying to get the sides of the streets picked up and stuff like that.
From what I saw, we don't have a local troop.
Yeah, we do.
We have
Troop
a
198.
cooperative thing that goes between several towns, I thought.
Last I knew, Troop 198 was still meeting here at the Catholic Church in the bottom part of it, and it seems like it was the first or the third Wednesday of the month.
Okay. I did a search online and didn't come up with
I
it.
could be wrong, but I recently saw something talking about Troop 198, so
Okay.
it's been that number for a long
I'll
time.
look around some more and see if we can find something. I don't think it's going to be a big deal if, if a couple of us go out there and just start throwing the stuff back into the woods.
We should get a camper reorganized for our scouts, where they go out and camp for the weekend.
Let them camp on the property if they clean it up. Huh?
Got to clean it up.
Yeah.
Burn all that slash. There is a slash law out there where if lightning struck and we knew of an old dead tree, so the lightning strikes that old dead tree, starts a fire, and we just ignored that old dead tree, but the fire burned to the coastline, we could be held liable because we knew there was a dead tree that could possibly start a fire on somebody else's.
There are a lot of dead trees out there.
There is.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is conservation property. I don't know if we can cut anything like that.
No, we can't.
No, not cut, but clean, certainly.
Oh, all right.
Over in Germany, from what I understand, they have a situation where the forests are really clean. A part of their fire protection thing is to make sure things are cleaned up.
If that is the case, that they start prosecuting people that have slash on their property, we'll have a lot of company in jail.
Well,
So,
prosecuting and housing might be two different things.
anyway,
So right down to basically we just hit A, B, C, D, and E.
yeah, I'll get the trifold done as soon as I've got the mapping done. It was an issue, blazing the trails. What color do we want to use? I didn't want to make that decision unilaterally. I don't think there's any national standard. I know the Appalachian Trail is in white with side trails in blue. A lot of the local communities I looked into have colors that they use, but they're not consistent. Pennsylvania uses yellow for hiking trails and blue for cross-country skiing trails, and I think orange for multi-use trails where ATVs and stuff are allowed. I would prefer either yellow or white because of the visibility issue. It's a lot easier to see, and you can space them out a little farther apart that way. But I didn't know whether we had a preference. And we will probably be putting in a second trail at some time down in that other branch, a loop down in there, and that would mean we'd have a side trail that'd have to be a different color.
I think White Mountain National Forest is 3 red slashes, right, on their boundaries.
I don't know.
Maybe on the boundaries. I don't
Oh, on the boundaries, yeah.
The actual trail markings usually would be a single mark for continuing to the trail, and there are a variety of other things. They were in a copy of it in the trifold that shows what right turn, left turn, stop, that sort of thing. Or
Keep to the right and you'll be all right.
yeah.
Well, if we want bright colors, we do white for the main trails, and then we'll say yellow was another bright color
Yeah,
for the
we do that,
secondary
yeah,
trail. That'd be very visible.
And as long as we have that listed in the
Trifold.
trifold, then I think we can use any colors we want. I don't think there's a big issue.
We don't want a color that offends the wildlife. I understand.
Do we have that in the coding for what is meant by the start of the trail, end of the trail,
Yeah.
continuing right, left?
Nice.
And so what we'll do is put that the color, I'll give a black background and white color to show the markings. Or
That is kind of neat.
Or maybe leave it black and just put in, side trail blue, whatever, when we get to it.
That's real cool.
We will then
Color do you want?
probably use white.
Let's try to think of a color that would really aggravate Mr. Brown. Like,
Think.
brown.
Brown, yeah. That would blend in with the bark.
Yeah, it would.
Be a little hard to pick up, maybe.
It's like Mr. Brown. He's probably a little hard to pick up. I don't think I'd want to try.
But anyway, once we get that done, I'll be ready to post something in the kiosk.
Do you have any preferred color, Paul?
I think white probably. I actually bought a can of spray yellow to test it on trees around my property and see how it worked.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling it's going to be easier to do it with a paintbrush.
Yeah.
They recommend a paintbrush.
And
Get neater boundaries on it. It's easier to see that it's an artificial mark.
what are those purple bags that they try to catch the emerald ash borers in? Have you ever seen those?
Yeah, no, the purple rectangles, sticky
Yeah.
rectangles.
Hanging. I wonder if we could do like a kill two birds with one stone kind of thing. We mark the trail and catch the emerald.
They don't usually put that many out
No.
in one area. That
Just
would be
with the ash
overkill
trees
if you had a 2.5 miles of one every 50 feet or something. It might be a little bit much.
Maybe just where the trail turns or something.
Especially on a piece of property that probably doesn't have that much ash. I haven't really looked, but
No, just a thought. We could use Wonder Bags from Wonder Bread.
I don't think they'd approve of that.
No. So, you want to put that on the agenda for discussion at the next meeting as well?
What?
Colors?
I'm willing to settle it now and use
Yeah,
white.
why don't we just settle it now? Say, I make a motion that the main trails are white, glazed white.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
And leave Mr. Brown right out of the decision-making process.
Well, hey, you snooze, you lose.
Hey,
He's snoozing.
you have to vote.
Yeah, all right, so if any more discussion on the color of white,
No.
all in favor?
Hey.
Aye. We're gonna make Priscilla abstain from the vote. Gabe, no comment? There's, well, this is your only opportunity. We have now gotten to the point on our agenda where it's public comment. Have I skipped anything on the agenda that's noticeable and offensive?
No.
I tried. We'll set our next meeting date. Today's the 10th,
65th, 25th,
25th.
25th,
The 65th date of the...
65th day, yeah.
7 o'clock, same place, same bat channel?
Yep.
All right. Anybody want to offer a motion to...
I'll offer a motion to adjourn.
Perfect. I'll second that motion. All in favor of that motion, say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right.